This is the theme of Setback and Misery, Annie's Return to Misery, select frames. So they managed to get back to the road. He's walking towards the sheriff's truck. And then we see Annie on the road. And, it didn't hit me that why is Annie on the road? Well, we know why, because in a few scenes later, she's going to come back with the book, with the with Paul Sheldon's new book, Misery's Child, that he's using to kill off misery and end the series. And so this tells me, after realizing that, and I didn't think about it until now, that she was so negatively affected by that new book that she felt like it pushed her out of the house to go back to her pattern, to go back to her habit. See, reading that new book, whether she cares about the swearing or not, um, or the fact that it lacks nobility for her, is really besides the point. She's trying to get out. She doesn't want to learn something new. She's going to revert or resort back to what she knows. And so that's what she's really in the truck for, on the road for. She wants to go back to what she knows, what makes her happy. And the new book and having to learn something new does not make her happy. So here it is. In the background, you see the sheriff's truck, and here it is. She had all that time that she could have turned around and stopped them or said anything about Paul Sheldon being at her house. So we know now that this is her purpose, to keep him at the house for whatever reason, right? She knows that if he leaves, she may never have access to him ever again, and she wouldn't. Right? The interesting thing is she's thinking too small. The fact that he rescued her, when he comes back to town to write another book, he might befriend her. And she might be a person that he continually stays in contact with. And then she could have a friendship for life. I mean, how is it? It is very likely that if you rescue somebody and help them and feed them and take care of them and get them back on their feet, that they're not going to stop by your house when they come back to town. As is the way she's doing it, she's messing up any possible future relationship that she could have with him. So I think she's thinking kind of small. That's sort of like her setback as well. Oftentimes, when I create a film analysis, I like to focus on those aspects of the film that I think are important, have some sort of significance. And so I noticed that when the director was filming these scenes, that he focused the camera on the door. And so I decided to do a screenshot of the door. And you're going to see the door throughout the film. You're going to see Paul Sheldon gain enough strength and use a bobby pin to open up this door that he's from this room that he's in. You're going to see when he comes out of the room that he tries to open up the front door, and then when he gets to the kitchen, he crawls to the other side of the kitchen where there is a back door and try to open it. So you're going to see doors throughout the film. But I thought it was interesting that the decisions you make, oftentimes, I believe, are at the door. As I noted in the previous screenshot, Annie is not looking at the long-term vision of possibly becoming a friend to Paul Sheldon if she nursed him to have took him to the hospital or had the ambulance come pick him up and then sort of nursed him a little more. But I think I have an understanding why she's not taking him to the hospital, other than the obvious, to keep him there, to trap him there, that she lost her credentials. We'll see when Paul goes through her photo book, how she sort of lost her way and ended up being charged for baby deaths while she was on duty as a nurse, as a night nurse. And I have to assume through all of those news clippings that he reads or he skims that she must have lost her certifications or her licenses, whatever is connected to being a nurse, a professional licensed nurse. So that means she would not have um, credibility at the hospital. She might not have privileges, like you might hear that term for doctors, right? If they are working at the hospital, they don't have privileges at that hospital. And so then she is a nurse, doctor, mother, sister, whatever, all unto herself. At the same time, she's still missing the long vision, the vision that could be. But she does make decisions at these doors. Every time she pops her head through, every time she comes in and out, comes in, goes out, she's continually making the decision to keep Paul Sheldon trapped, keep him in the dark, hoard knowledge, lie to him. When she comes through the door, she's going to come through the door. She's going to peek her head through and come through the door, and she's going to show Paul Sheldon the book that she got from the general store. Well, that's going to raise questions because remember, she said to Paul Sheldon, that when the roads clear, I can get a hospital out here, an ambulance out here. Well, if she's able to drive to the general store, that means the roads are clear, right? But she's going to lie and say that that the roads are not clear and that her phone is not working, but the phone in town was working and that she called the agent. Then she's going to say, well, I called the agent, and then, of course, hopefully the agent called his daughter. And so all that is, the goal of that lying is to set Paul Sheldon back because, again, she hasn't shown her true colors to Paul Sheldon. She's shown her true colors to the audience. When she drives past the sheriff and she has that opportunity to tell the sheriff that she has Paul Sheldon, she's telling the audience, she's revealing her true motives to the audience. But Paul Sheldon is not privy to that. He's not going to be privy to it until he realizes that until she realizes that he has killed off Misery. And in killing off Misery, it's like Misery, the character, is like killing off the misery that he feels in writing that series. So the door is, there are many decisions at the door. We open ourselves to the wrong people, or we open ourselves to the right opportunities when we open a door. And we could also close ourselves to opportunities and close ourselves in many other ways when we don't walk through the door, close the door. And so I thought it was interesting to kind of give you a visual of the door. So she's peeking her head through as if it's just an innocent day, right? And she's going to ask, did I wake you, right? And she's coming through the door with the book. And he's shocked that she's coming through the door, or just whatever emotions he's having at that moment. And then she shows the book that he just wrote. And remember, this is the same book that he was speaking about with his agent, and how she was so surprised that he killed off Misery. And so Misery Chastain. So this is the book. So remember the process of publication. Now, Annie is actually operating in the right order. She is the customer, and as a customer, she went to the general store to go get the new book. That is her role as customer. So again, when Paul Sheldon asks her to think about a title and tell him what she thinks the book is about or something like that, that's out of order. She's ahead of the game, or he's placing her ahead of the game. So she's showing him the book, and then she's walking into the room with the book, excited. And this is in contrast to the previous book. Remember the previous book that she spilled the soup and basically charged him as a liar. And so she's excited, looking at the book, and in the same way she's kind of looking at the book, you're going to see Buster's wife, Virginia, read the cover or read the spine. And so this is where he's basically asking her, oh, so the roads are clear? And she said, no, they're not clear, but when they do clear, I'll have them to send an ambulance. And here's where she's saying that. And the thing about Annie, she's trying to get him to focus more on the book than on his current condition of being trapped in that room. And so if she could just get him to focus his attention on the fact that she loves his book, then maybe he won't think about the fact that he's lying in bed trapped in this room. And so she's sitting, talking about the book, focusing all her efforts, her happiness. And this is a huge contrast to when she was sitting there feeding him soup and feeling like he had done her such a disservice, or even done the book series such a disservice to write on some other type of book. Right here, he's stressing out about his daughter, the fact that she doesn't know if he is alive, and the agent. So she's talking about one thing and he's talking about another. And she's talking about how he's a poet, what a poet you are, but he's stressed. So even as a fan, she can't be really supportive, because she can't be supportive of the writer, the author. She can only be supportive of the book. It's the book that made her happy. Paul Sheldon being in her room, lying on a bed, trapped, is just gravy on top. And so she's so preoccupied with the happiness that misery brings her, the book, the concept, and anything sort of added to that. She's so preoccupied with that she can't recognize his misery. Not only in the same way, I think if you think about the agent who's talking about the economics of marketing, publishing the book, and presenting it to the world, the economics and the financial rewards that came with it. She's so preoccupied, like Annie, with the book itself, but not with the person, that both the agent and Annie don't see that Paul Sheldon is miserable. He's miserable here lying in this bed because he can't do anything really about it. And he's miserable in his profession because he never intended the book to become his life. And so both, I think there's a parallel between Annie and the agent, because they don't see past the rewards of the book to the person who is miserable, to the person who wants to do something else. All right, like, subscribe, and visit. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell for more discussions. You can visit my YouTube channel for further film analysis. It's Favorites Film Analysis as the title of the channel. You can always send me an email and ask me a question, reginayfavorites@yahoo.com. My Overcoming Setback, 5 Keys for Entering and Exiting Correction book will become available around October 2021. I'm still doing some editing. The book does not focus on film analyses, but I use the content that I created for the book to support my my perceptions of setback used as a theme in select films. So when the book becomes available, I will send out a notification, video, audio. Thank you very much for visiting the channel.